walks away after winning his 100th game as the head coach here at Notre Dame.
The reason I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth, I was born in this country. It isn't what you have, it's what you're taught about the values of life.
We trying to save souls.
So there's a rule in life that said you're either growing or you're dying. And like an old friend once said, we as Americans need to start winning again. Everyone should ask this question. Am I willing to endure the pain and the suffering and the sacrifice it takes to be a champion? Greetings. This is Lou Holtz, and welcome to the Lou Holtz Podcast. Today, we're truly blessed to have one of the outstanding golfers, and that's Ian Poulter. Ian's an English golfer who is formerly ranked number 5 in the world. He turned pro off of a handicap of 4, developed his skills as assistant pro at Leighton Buzzard Golf Club. He's had 17 worldwide wins, impressive record Ryder Cup, 15 wins, 8 losses, undefeated, with a record of 6 wins, 0 losses, 1 tie in head-to-head competition. 8 top 10 finishes at major championships, most notably runner-up at the U.S. Open Championship. Formerly world number 5, arguably one of the most commercially activated golfers due to his 3.1 million social followers and being a people's person who has a sponsor's dream. He's a father, a great golfer, but he's lived in this community for 13 years. I've lived here since last century. In other words, I moved here in 1989. There's nobody who's had a more positive impact in this world than Ian Poulter. So we're delighted to be here. Ian, you won your first tournament. You weren't even a pro. You had a 4 handicap. How did that come about? Explain that, because nobody would understand.
Sure, Coach. Thank you for your kind words also. But yeah, I mean, I was an assistant pro just like any aspiring pro back in the day where, I left school at the age of 15 and I went to work in a pro shop as a worker until I could get my handicap down to a low enough handicap of 4 before I could basically join the PGA.
That Ian Poulter famously turned pro off a 4 handicap, which is not uncommon if you wanted to go into the world of coaching or you want to become a club pro or whatever it might be.
YouTuber.
Yes. But to turn pro off a 4 handicap and go on to even get on tour, never mind get on tour, retain a tour card, win European Tour events, PGA Tour events is absolutely unheard of.
So I joined the PGA and handed my handicap certificate in at 4, which we all know is okay. It's not great, but it's okay. And from there, I really sort of tasked myself in working really hard. So having the belief in myself that my heroes in golf, Seve, Faldo and Greg Norman and, Jack and Arnold, those guys weren't given the talent at birth to just be able to be great golfers. So I just figured, listen, if they can do it, and if I can apply myself really hard to all of the tasks that I would need to do, and I guess in some respects that comes a lot of naivety, being naive to what it is I had to do to be successful. But I was dedicated, I think, and winning my first tournament at the age of 19, just after I'd turned professional as an assistant pro, was really life-changing. I earned 4 months salary in 2 days. And then I sort of said to myself, wow, this is incredible. I used to earn $200 a week. And now all of a sudden I've picked up a check, which is life-changing. And that was really the turning point, I think, to turn around and say, okay, maybe I need some extra days off from working in a shop to getting out on the golf course to competing, because my first passion, my first love was sport, football, soccer. And I loved everything about being in that team. And that was the bit that I'd kind of missed when I was told at a very early age that I wasn't good enough. You're not good enough, I'm afraid, Ian, to be part of football. So I took that pretty personally. And I wanted to self-motivate myself from that point and say, okay, if somebody tells me I'm not good enough, I'm going to choose a sport where I'm going to decide whether I'm good enough, and I'm going to take control of that golf ball. And kind of it snowballed from that position on.
You've never won a World Golf Championship event. You've never won in America on the PGA Tour. You got rid of both of those in 1 week. How's it feel?
Feels really, really nice. You know, it's been a long time coming, and you know, I'm very happy. You know, it was a good day's golf today.
Well, from winning your first competition to a long career as one of the top golfers in the world, what core values do you believe have contributed to your success? And how have you overcome the adversity? Because we all have adversity. How did you overcome all the difficulty in becoming one of the top golfers in the world?
I think most importantly, it's about who you surround yourself with and who you take into that small network of people in and around you. Because, you know, it's never easy. The game's not easy. The business is not easy. And life isn't easy at times, even though it might look great on the outside from social media and Instagram and all of the wonderful things, you know, that are out there. There are challenges, family challenges, difficulties with not playing great on the golf course, and, you know, having to come home and be a good dad. My life is 24/7 chaos. But it's the people that you have around you. It's people that you can rationalize everything. And golf's a very selfish individual sport, unlike team sports. So I think, you know, for me, it was about making sure the people around me, my agent, my best friends, I could relate to, I could bounce stuff off. I could really sort of lean on them to be able to pull me through those moments where you just need, you know, you need a shoulder. You need to be able to turn around and say, it's okay. Like you know, you're going through the process. We understand it's not great, and we all need good friends. And I think, you know, that's something I've been blessed with, having a really good core network of friends.
Well, that's great advice. I got to say this. We're playing Augusta. And I said to you, you know, we need to bring your son to Augusta. You have 4 children, great wife, great father, we need to bring it. So what do? You don't tell them we're going to Augusta. You say, Coach Olson, they'll take it. If you lower your handicap, if your grade point average, you put all these stipulations on your son, which is just typical of you as a father. What's been the proudest moment as a father? I know you have a son who's a freshman in Florida on the golf team. Talk a little bit about him and your other children.
Well, I think what I'm most proud of, is all 4 of my kids. My wife, she's my rock. She's someone that kind of holds the house together. But each of my kids, I think, have been amazing in their own right. You know, talking about Luke, somebody who, you know, trying to follow in my footsteps. And as you say, you were, you know, kind enough to take us up to Augusta. I set him the challenge. Listen, if you lower your handicap low enough, you know, coach has kindly invited you to come and play golf. And I think along the way, it's great to set those little challenges and those little milestones, which, you know, really sort of keep you going. And it's spurred him on. He's gone on to be a redshirt freshman. He's in the team this week. He's playing in Las Vegas. He landed last night, and he's playing another Florida Gator tournament this weekend. Last weekend we was up in Gainesville watching him play golf and compete, and it's fascinating for me to be the other side of the rope. I've always been pretty much inside of the rope, and I'm in control because I'm hitting the shots. And when you're not in control and you're kind of leaving it up to, you know, your son to do the job, it makes you feel really proud. and he handles himself well on the course, but he's very hard on himself. So even though I kind of watch with interest as to what his demeanor is, how his body language is, what little pieces of advice can I give him after the round of golf that hopefully he can instill in his game, which is going to make a difference. Because, you know, just like yourself, you've been there in the thick of things, and we all know the mistakes we've made because they're painful. So yeah. I'm trying to assess Luke and say, okay, what mistakes is he making, and how can we eradicate those mistakes to be a better golfer? And look, he's doing a wonderful job.
You have Luke, who's a redshirt freshman at Florida, and great potential. But how about your other three children? How do they handle it?
Do you know, they handle it very well. Amy's at Clemson. She's in her senior year. She's going to graduate in May. So that's a very exciting time for us to see what she wants to do. Does she want to continue some of her passion in art and design and perhaps go on to some further education, maybe SCAD or another design university? So we're very proud of Amy and how hard she works. She's a straight A student, so she must get that from mum, because she definitely didn't get that from me. And then we've got, obviously, Lily and Joshua. Now, Lily is a Formula One fanatic, which I love because I have a passion in Formula One and I have a passion in cars. She plays piano. She has lessons every week, and she's really... You know, she's really kind of making big strides in her music. And, you know, she's growing up. She's going to be 15 in a few weeks' time. And I can't believe she's going to be driving a car in a few weeks' time, which you know, where does time go? It just amazes me.
As a father and as a person, you've been exemplary. Now, you've lived in this country for 13 years. What are the disadvantages of living here and the advantages of living here, and why did you decide to make Orlando your home?
I think there's a lot. I first came to America in 1995/96, actually with Katie, my wife. It was our first time really flying into America. We had a wonderful time. And then my golf game progressed to a level where we could have basically afford a holiday home in a country where I can potentially practice in the winter when the weather's really poor back home in the UK. So early 2000s, we bought a holiday home, and I started to do some winter practice when the weather wasn't very good to further my game. So to try and become a more global golfer, play against the best players in the world. And you know, having two kids at that time, obviously back in the UK, and then having the challenges of competing all over the world and having to play 15 times in America was a big strain from a travel perspective. So we took the plunge and, you know, really decided to make Orlando and Lake Nona our family home. And it's been wonderful. The community here at Lake Nona have really sort of taken us in. We love all of the members here. We love the golf course. We love working on a charitable perspective, and Katie's always done quite a lot from a charity perspective. And we're pretty proud that, you know, one of the few charities that we support brings a lot of children to Orlando.
Ambassadors of Golf, presented by Barclays.
Hang on!
Three-time PGA Tour winner Ian Poulter hosts his third annual Golf Charity Classic to support a cause close to his heart.
Every year, every October, 192 children come over to Orlando, so we get to see them and spend some time with those children. And it's a wonderful hub for us. America's been, I think, you know, like most people feel, a great place for business, a great place for sport, a great place to live, a great place for charity, a great place to give back. So, I think we're very fortunate to have, and the game of golf has certainly given us a lot of great friends, great business people, met people like Coach yourself, who are incredible people that have done incredible things in sport, in business, charitable. We're super pleased and happy to obviously be a little part of lots of big things.
Well, Ian, nobody's contributed more to Lake Nona than you and your family. But I have always said this: you can have all the sex in the world, but if you fail as a husband or father, you really failed your life. Now, I know your wife celebrated her 50th birthday at the end of last year with an epic party. I want to hear more about this celebration. I want you to share what being a good husband means to you.
Well, it was one hell of a celebration, I'll say that. We are not big drinkers in this household. Now, it's not to say we don't drink, but it happens when we have maybe friends and family come over for dinner. But, we just occasionally have a glass of wine or a couple of drinks. But we keep it to a minimum. I need to play good golf.
Singles and the so-called postman delivered again.
A long way up the green and it goes in.
And Katie needs to be a great mum, so alcohol and that is never a good mix. But her 50th birthday was a big milestone. We, in the guest house next door where my office is right now, have nice enough space to be able to dine 30 people. So a lot of her mum, her dad, her sister, nephews, my mum, my grandma, and some close friends from in and around Lake Nona were here to have one too many drinks. So it was, it may have been the most intoxicated I've ever seen Katie, but I'm glad we had some grown-up children to help us all, because I also had perhaps one too many to drink. So we really had a great time. The grandparents loved it. Parents loved it. And it was wonderful. It was really nice to just keep it small, keep it intimate. But it was a great milestone.
I think you have to be able to celebrate as a family. Now, you mentioned about how many people you fly over here every year. Tell us about the charity work that you have going for you.
Yeah, we have a couple of charitable organizations which we help. One being Dreamflight. Now, Dreamflight is the one that Pat Pierce, MBE, founded about 36 years ago. And her vision and dream was to do one trip and bring a lot of children who had varied disabilities from the UK to Orlando to have an incredible week's holiday, to get away from their normal troubles and daily difficulties.
It's an eye-opener. It really is pretty special to these kids to come away from their daily troubles, to have the help, to have the care, to enjoy something very, very different that they wouldn't think is possible.
Now, the one-off trip that she decided to put on has now resulted in that trip happening every single year. So I got involved about 2009. I met a wonderful young man on the aeroplane who was a big golf fan. He played off 28 handicap. He had a mobility scooter because of his disability, his illness, but he loved playing golf. Now, he is one of the wonderful stories that have come from Dreamflight, and one of the kids that has really seen some incredible growth. He today is, I'm proud to say, a head professional at a golf course in the UK. Now, to see that relationship that I've had with him as a young kid who was quite poorly, to blossom, recover, and become the professional that he always aspired to be, is just one of hundreds and hundreds of amazing stories that Dreamflight has kind of been able to do for these kids.
For former Dreamflighter Liz Johnson, the trip gave her the push she needed to spread her wings, all the way to a gold medal.
I didn't realise at the time, but it had a knock-on effect for everything I did thereafter. If it hadn't have been for Dreamflight, I might never have pursued that Paralympic career. It shaped me into the person I am today.
So the charity runs off of 4 paid staff. There's 192 kids. There are 200 volunteers. The 200 volunteers are doctors, nurses, pilots, physios, and people that give their holiday time to help these children. And the little piece of joy that we have is the game of golf has given us incredible friends, incredible people that see the good work that Dreamflight have done, and they all come together to donate. They come play golf. They buy some incredible auction items, which again, we're very lucky to be able to, collate some of the most incredible memorabilia from around the world. Last year we raised 1.2 million. The year before we raised 1.6 million, and it's a big feat. So to be able to, donate that money to Dreamflight is very special. And we work, the whole team work hard to be able to pull these days off. And the other charitable thing that we're very proud of is the Little Sticks program.
This week is the official launch of the Majestics GC Community Impact Program, Little Sticks. It sets out a long-term vision to make a positive difference in the communities where the 4 players live, work and compete. The Majestics believe connecting young people through golf helps promote their physical health, mental well-being and sense of belonging. In true Majestics GC form, they held a fun-filled activation with 2 schools from the Centurion neighbourhood. The children were able to test their putting, chipping, and even took direct aim at Ian Poulter.
Now, being a part owner of a sports franchise and being able to, with my colleagues Lee Westwood, Henrik Stenson, Sam Horsfield, is really give back from a sense of a community perspective. And with our team based back in the UK, we've built a curriculum, a golf curriculum for deprived communities, children that have a disability, and give them an exercise activity during a PE class to be able to help them not necessarily turn into the best golfers in the world, but just be able to give them a life skill and, resilience, teamwork, respect are all key parts of that charitable giving. Now, we've piloted it so far through 5 schools in the UK. There's 50 sessions between September and December that were rolled out. And the wonderful thing about this great game is 59.4% of the children had a meaningful positive change in their well-being, which is wonderful. 78% of the children had a moderate to high well-being score pre the program, compared to 97% of the children post the program. So, it's wonderful.
3, 2, 1, go!
So as we kind of grow the Little Sticks program, community-wide / through these schools and bring on more coaches that can implement this program, we can have, and give, a lot of these kids some helping hand in the levels of life skills that, we've all learned with the great game of golf, and hopefully help them.
Well, you just exemplify everything we believe in, and that is having help. And the fact that you follow up and see the success that you've had, this changes is very, very important. I follow golf, love golf. My physical status and such is hard for me to play now, but you have had such a great career, highest 5th best in the world, and yet nobody's had a better Ryder Cup than you. Why is it, and what is the most memorable shot you made in the Ryder Cup? Would it be the putt you made when you were with the guy from Ireland, Rory? I mean, you made, it must have been a 200-foot putt you made.
Ian Poulter, how about this? Call this an outside chance. Ball racing. That's a green. Oh, come on. Good gracious. Ian Poulter. That's right. It's hard to see from over there.
What is the one shot you remember most about the Ryder Cup?
To just single out one shot's really hard. And, you know, in the background, I have the outfit on a mannequin, which was Medina, and the golf bag is right there in the background. The clubs I used are right there. And, you know, to turn the tide, Rory and I in that Saturday's match at Medina was one of the most incredible days of sport I've ever had. It's one of the most memorable times I've ever had on a golf course. So, you know, making 5 birdies, it just happened.
With Rory McIlroy and got on a roll. Up against Zach Johnson and Jason Duffner, the Englishman made 5 birdies in the final 5 holes. Birdie and the win.
But you had about 200 feet of birdie putts you made that round.
Yeah, it's hard to explain how, and I think that's the wonderful thing about sport. Sometimes great things happen when your focus level and the intensity and the pressure is so extreme that, you know, we see it time and time and time again. I mean, you know, watching the Super Bowl a couple of weeks ago, and there's 10 seconds left on the clock, and you know, they just make a play and it just happens. You know, great things in sport happen often. And I've been very fortunate to have a number of those in the Ryder Cup.
I know we're running down on time, but not many people know that you have all kind of very important cars and watches. How did that come about?
I'm a collector, first and foremost. So as a kid, I kind of kept everything. So as obviously my passion being cars, we could never really afford a new car back in the day. So I always looked up to, you know, some of the supercars in the world, and I really loved them. I was like, one day if I become successful enough as a golfer, I'd love to own, you know, a really nice Ferrari. And, you know, that kind of snowballed from there. And as the collector in me came out, it turned into not 1, but 2, but 3, and obviously a multitude of them. But they've been a number of things. They've been great to have. They've been a great asset. They've been a great business because they've gone up in value an awful lot. But they make so many people happy. So when I take them to a show, or I take the kids to Cars and Coffee, you know, they're kind of great vehicles to be able to do that. And, you know, we can't really wear much jewelry as men. So the other passion is obviously having a watch. But I bought a little watch the other day, and it must be worth about $10. It's an old Casio from 1980.
Oh my.
But so yeah, we have we've been very fortunate, Coach, to collect some of the world's nicest cars and watches.
I'll tell you where we've been fortunate, Ian, is to be able to show the different side of you. You're a great father, a great husband, but you're also a great humanitarian that cares about other people, does so much for charity. And when the bank asked me to list my assets, Ian, I start with my friendship with you. You're a wonderful individual. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for exposing the great things about yourself to the world.
Coach, thank you very much. Thanks for having me on.
And he walks away after winning his 100th game as the head coach here at Notre Dame.
The reason I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth, I was born in this country. It isn't what you have, it's what you're taught about the values of life.
We trying to save souls.
See, there's a rule in life that said you're either growing or you're dying.
And like an old friend once said, we as Americans need to start winning again.
Everyone should ask this question. Am I willing to endure the pain and the suffering and the sacrifice it takes to be a champion?